Hi, you guys. Welcome back to the library with Mrs. K. So, today I have a cool story about a young princess. So, the series called Young Princesses Around the World. This is Lydia and the Island Kingdom, a story based on the real life of Princess Liliuokalani of Hawaii. I hope I didn't slaughter her name too much there, but definitely a sweet story and part of history I didn't know very much about. This is a 3.4 accelerated reading level, and I will put the quiz number in the comments. This is by Joan Holub. The Kingdom of Hawaii. The Hawaiian alphabet has 12 letters: A, E, H, I, K, L, M, N, O, P, U, and W. None of the letters are silent. Here is how to read some of the Hawaiian words in this book. Aloha, hello or goodbye. Hawaii, Kamehameha, Kaliwea, Lei, a flower necklace, Liliuokalani. Okay, that was really slaughtering her name. Luau, I've heard that one. Mauna Loa, Oahu, Pele is the volcano goddess. Hoi, a thick soup. Tapa, a type of cloth made from a mulberry tree bark, the tapa cloth. And here's the islands of Hawaii. The Mauna Loa volcano is on the big island of Hawaii. Maui, Oahu, is where the Royal Alani School Palace is on Oahu. 7-year-old Lydia and her best friend Vicky were excited. King Kamehameha and Lydia's father, Chief Paki, had come to their school today. Their school was near the king's palace on the island of Oahu in the Kingdom of Hawaii. It was called the Royal School because only royal children went there. The king asked the class a question. Do you all remember the awful thing that happened to our kingdom 3 years ago? Yes, said Lydia. Lydia's older brother, David. It was 1843 when England overthrew our government. The king nodded. And on July 31st, England's Queen Victoria returned our government to us. Does anyone know what we call that day? Lydia raised her hand. A happy day, she suggested. The king smiled. It was a happy day, Li'ilu. Li'ilu was Lydia's Hawaiian name. All the royal children had two names. One was Hawaiian and one was American. But we also call it the Restoration Day, the king told her. It's a day to be proud that we are not ruled by England, America, or any other nation that wants to change us. At the end of July, we will have a luau in honor of that happy day. Chief Pocky told the class. You are all invited. After their talk, the king and Chief Pocky stayed for a picnic outside. Mrs. Cook served oatmeal, pie, vegetables, and bread. Mrs. Cook and her husband were from America. They were teachers at the royal school. Lydia made a yucky face. She did not like oatmeal. She would rather have poi. The king winked at her. Maybe he didn't like oatmeal either, she thought. While Mrs. Cook showed the children schoolwork to the king and Chief Pocky, the children played together. I want to give the king a present at the luau, Vicky told the others. I'll make a tapa cloth out of mulberry tree bark. I'll carve a totem pole out of a tiki wood for him, said David. That's a lot of work, said Bernice, Lydia's older sister. Do you want me to help? Sure, said David. Lydia could not think of an idea for a gift at first. Then she looked at the garden. I know, I'll make a lei for the king. She carefully wove a necklace of big red flowers. She tried it on. Mrs. Cook looked out the window. She frowned when she saw Lydia's necklace and called her over. Please take off that lei, she told her quietly. Why? Asked Lydia. Because flowers belong in the garden, said Miss Cook. Sometimes it seems that her teacher didn't like anything Hawaiian. Lydia thought Mrs. Cook thought everyone should learn to do things the way Americans did. She gave them oatmeal instead of poi for lunch, and the royal children had to wear shoes to school. Most Hawaiians went barefoot. Just then the king and Lydia's father came back outside. She heard them talking as they left the school. I built this school so the royal children could learn to speak English like the outsiders coming to our island, the king said, because the children will rule Hawaii someday. They must learn the outsiders' ways. But sometimes I worry they will forget the old ways of our people. I worry too, said Chief Pocky. He and the king walked away. As Lydia took off the necklace, she saw its flower and it had turned a little brown. Flowers wouldn't last until the luau. She wanted to give the king a special gift that showed she loved Hawaii. It should be a gift that would last a long time. But what? Lydia and the Volcano, Chapter 2. The next morning, the students of the Royal School went on a field trip. Mrs. Cook took them on a boat from Oahu to the big island of Hawaii. They were going to visit Mauna Loa. It was the largest volcano in the world. Steam hissed from the cracks in the volcano as Lydia and her classmates rode horses towards its top. The lava lake is up ahead, Lydia told Vicky. Let's hurry and get there first. Yes, said Vicky. The girls soon reached the lava lake inside the Kilauea volcano on Mauna Loa. But they hadn't gotten there first. A group of Americans were visiting the volcano too. Aloha, Lydia and Vicky called to them. Hello, they called back. Lydia picked up a pretty lava rock. A rock was a gift that would last a long time. This rock is shaped like a bear, she told Vicky. Do you think it would make a good present to give to the king at the luau? No, it's bad luck to take the lava rocks, remember? Said Vicky. Lydia sighed. You're right. I don't want to give the king bad luck. She threw the rock into the lake. A steam of fire shot up where it landed. Ooh, lava smells like rotten eggs, said one of the American ladies. She covered her nose. One of the men pointed at something on the ground at the edge of the lake. What's that? He asked. The lady looked closer and screamed. It's the head of a dead pig. Don't be afraid, Lydia told her. That is a present for Pele, the goddess of fire. Some people believe she lives in the volcano. They leave gifts for her so the volcano will not erupt. Do you girls believe in Pele? The American lady asked. No, our teacher taught us to pray to a Christian god, said Vicky. But sometimes we still give Pele gifts for good luck, said Lydia. The lady smiled and pulled out a coin out of her purse. She threw it into the lava. Now maybe I will have good luck, she said. Chapter 3, Lydia and the Song. On the way back to school, Mrs. Cook gave Lydia a sheet of paper with a song written on it. Will you help everyone learn this hymn? She asked. Lydia nodded. Yes, ma'am. Children at the Royal School learned math, spelling, writing, and reading, but Lydia's favorite class was music. Bernice gave her lesson on the piano for an hour every day. Lydia read the music notes on the sheet until she had learned the tune. When they got back to school, she sang it aloud for the class. They copied her. Soon the whole class had learned the hymn. Vicky looked at the sheet music Lydia had read. I wish I could read notes as well as you, she said. How do you do it? I can't explain it, said Lydia. To me, reading music is as easy as breathing. After the song, Lydia's big brother David was angry. He wanted to go surfing in the ocean, but there was a new law against that. The Americans have decided surfing is too wild, he told the other children. Now I can't ride my surfboard anymore. Why doesn't the king just tell the Americans to go away, said Lydia. Then we could do what we want to. Hawaii is a small country. We aren't strong enough to make larger countries leave us alone, Bernice explained. After all, England overthrew us just 3 years ago. Everyone nodded. Hawaii is like a little fish that big fish want to gobble, said David. Lydia saw how worried everyone was. She remembered that the king had been worried too. He wanted them to remember the old ways of Hawaii. Maybe she could help. Let's tell stories, she said. Okay, said Vicky. That always makes us feel better. Lydia began to tell the tale of Hawaii's creation. She chanted the words in a sing-song voice, which was the Hawaiian way of storytelling. When the stars were small, eyes in the night, Lydia began. From the slime was the earth formed, Vicky continued. And the night gave birth to the starfish, Beatrice added. And the story went on. All of the children knew this and the other stories by heart. The people of Hawaii told them over and over. But the stories didn't make David feel better. He was still angry. Americans don't want us to surf or go barefoot, he said. Maybe one day they will decide they don't like our songs either. Our mama taught us the songs of Hawaii to us by singing them, said Bernice. I want to sing them to my own children someday. I would be sad if Mrs. Cook told us not to sing our songs, said Vicky. Do you think we might forget them? That gave Lydia an idea. Not if I can help it, she said. Chapter 4. Lydia and the Luau. Finally, the day of the big luau came. Lydia's parents were busy getting ready. Hundreds of guests are coming to the luau today, said Chief Baki. But no one will go hungry. There will be 270 roasted pigs, 5,000 fish, and more than 2,000 coconuts at the luau. Will there be poi too? Asked Lydia. Don't worry, said her mama. Chiefess Konia, our servants cooked the roots of many taro plants to make plenty of poi. Because they were royal children, Lydia and Vicky sat at the king's table during the luau. Other guests sat on the mats on the ground around the low tables. After everyone had eaten, King Kamehameha stood. He began speaking in a loud voice so all the guests could hear. Today is Restoration Day, he said. Let's all celebrate that Hawaii is still an independent kingdom. Everyone cheered and waved Hawaiian flags. After the king sat down again, Vicky gave him the tapa cloth and she had made. Other people gave him gifts too. Then it was time for Lydia to give him her present. She pulled out a roll of paper tied with a bow. Would the king like her gift? Would the king like her gift? King Kamehameha slowly unrolled the sheets of paper and read them. What is this, little Liliani? He asked. It is some of the songs of Hawaii, she told him. I wrote them for you, so none of us will ever forget them. The king smiled a big smile. He liked her gift. What a wonderful idea, he told her. No one has ever written these songs on paper before. I hope you will write more of them so that they will never be lost to us. Lydia smiled back at the king. I promise I will. Chapter 5. Queen Lydia Liliuokalani. Lydia kept writing the words to old Hawaiian songs all of her life. She also made up new songs about Hawaii. Year after year, the luau, her brother David, was crowned king of Hawaii. After he died, Lydia became queen. By then, the kingdom of Hawaii was in trouble. Many Americans wanted it to become part of the United States. Lydia and most Hawaiian people wanted it to stay an independent kingdom. A group of Americans overthrew Lydia's kingdom in 1893. 5 years later, the United States took control of Hawaii. Though she lost all of her power, Lydia never lost her love for Hawaii. She wrote a book about her life called Hawaii's Story by Hawaii's Queen. The end. You can pause and read through the timeline of her life. Sounds like she was an amazing woman and who helped them so much. We could look her up and find her music.